and today it is me, Lewis Walton, along with Kay Traver. And do you say Traver or Traver?
Traver, actually.
Traver, Kay Traver, and Fernando Lafort. And hopefully we will be joined by Mr. Ivanov in just a few minutes. So how are you guys doing tonight?
Not bad, not bad. Just another day.
Good deal, good deal. I was just about to ask what we're all drinking, but your Capri Sun is like front and center. Okay.
Oh,
Not a
Capri Sun. That's
Well, I just got water, so like I guess
so
I'm the weak link in this group tonight.
this is half juice and half beer.
Oh, what kind of juice?
Rattlers are normally orange or lemon.
I think it's a grapefruit.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, I prefer the grapefruits. Yeah. This one is a very tasty. It was one of my top ones
Good deal, good deal.
by the Brody.
I still have not found a drink of choice for this whole COVID thing. I'm still, I'll play around with a little bit of tequila every now and then, and cider, but nothing that I've found like fills my daily alcohol requirement. So.
Mine is anything with booze in it, pretty much.
Gotcha. So, very cool.
Yeah, just the evening is a little bit like a light beer, light beers like that, but I mean tasteful. It's not like Miller Lite or Bud Light, those like good stuff but low alcohol, or like the apple cider, the ciders. Love it.
Cool.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt me.
Started, can I ask you, who is in the picture that's behind you?
Oh, you know him. He's a celebrity.
Well, there's a lot of chandelier light in front. So
Oh yeah, it's the chandeliers messing up. It's Nick Cave. Nick Cave in 1982.
Who?
Nick Cave.
That made it a little bit better, yes.
To see but not understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a song that you might know by Nick Cave. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
You'd know at least Red Right Hand. That's you would know from a TV show or a movie that was in so many shows. And when I both I'm a big fan, and when I was a kid I met him. He was living in Brazil when I was like probably 14, 15.
Okay.
But yeah, he's an interesting guy. You should check it out. There is a nice documentary. It's an interesting persona.
All right, gang. I want to start with our questions. First question is going to be about restaurants. And if we don't get through all the questions, that's fine. We can just use them later. But I wanted to, I'm thinking about the things that we are likely all missing or going to miss in the next, go round of shutdowns. And I started thinking about restaurants and why exactly we like them. So I was going to start off with the question of what makes or breaks a restaurant experience for you guys? Fernando, you first.
Okay. Well, consistency is a big thing. So even sometimes an average restaurant, if you know what they do and if they're consistent, you even become joyful. For example, remember the Border Bandido, meat or combo. Dude, that was precisely the same thing for probably 30 years. That place was there forever. Neil worked there. I mean, you gotta be consistent. I hate there was some situations and I can see that affect the restaurant performance and they can't stay alive. So there was great places. There was one downtown here. What was the Berry? Remember Lucky Berry?
Lucky Berry?
Yeah, remember that?
Well, it was only here for a year or two. I mean, it wasn't here for.
No, and they even stop it and reopen. It was a day. It was pretty bizarre. I went there. I had I don't remember the food by itself, but there was also dessert. It was what's the name of those? An ice cream. It's fruit flavor. They call different
sherbet.
Gelato?
Yes. There was a home sherbet. It was delicious. So I was so happy. I said, holy, I gotta have this again. Next day, I went there with the kids. Feels like it was like we are under new ownership. I feel bad because I mean I think the place get out of control if it doesn't have a good like staff with a nice leader. It was totally different like experience. Like 24 hours later, I was even embarrassed. My kids they were shocked. Say, "What are you?" It's a simple thing. The shirt is there. You need to put a leaf, and it was bizarre from the service, and then they went downhill pretty fast. I think consistent is like what keep me very like the place gotta be consistent. When they change, it doesn't hold. The it gotta be consistent and decent. Doesn't need to have millions of dishes, but it gotta be you know very like an orchestra. It gotta work. Always need to be. If you order like a complex salad, it's okay, but they need to serve that salad the same way forever.
So then, like, where does McDonald's rank as far as consistency goes for you? See,
Yeah.
that's
No, they're not on the top of my list, but I have some appreciation for like the and the other hand, like I had weird experience like in Burger King. You can't believe like it was pretty like in McDonald's never make me I went to McDonald's in Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, UK, here in the ghetto in some whatever like same thing. Some place a little more.
You've had McDonald's in Peru. I haven't even had McDonald's in Peru, and I was born there.
No, I take this back. There was because I just went to Cusco. There is no. I didn't was in Bolivia in La Paz.
Mhm. I have had McDonald's in Germany when I was 16, just because we wanted to have a beer and a burger
Yep.
because they serve beer in McDonald's
I
in
love it.
Germany.
I love
And
in,
so they're
in
like,
England.
okay, we're gonna do this, but I probably haven't had McDonald's in 20 years. So
The Tower of London. You could like smoke inside the McDonald's. There was ashtrays. It was pretty cool. I even got some, and it was fantastic.
so. Kay, do you agree with Fernando that it's the consistency thing
absolutely.
that makes it? What do you like?
So I am a foodie, and before BC, before COVID,
Uh huh.
I literally ate out 2 of my 3 meals a day. Very expensive, but that's what I did because even though most people think I'm pretty much an extrovert, I'm really an introvert. I like to be by myself, but I like to be around people. I like to observe people.
Hmm.
And so I am known at many restaurants in town of just sitting at the bar and doing my own thing and eating. And
So,
if
do you
there
have a favorite place, like just one place that stands above all the others?
Well, I'm going to tell you 3 right now during COVID where
Okay.
I feel very comfortable being,
Hmm.
that have reopened, who've invited me in, who've told me what their procedures are.
Hmm.
And so, Jay Wilson's on the west side of town, Merchants downtown, and I just went to the Mill for the first time, which is a new restaurant on Ninth in Mississippi. And I know a lot of the people who have been working there, but I just had never been.
Hmm.
And I think all of their procedures are very on par, right there, and make me feel comfortable. Now, granted, I only go to these places between like 1 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where
Hmm.
most people are not eating anyway. Um, but as far as a food experience,
Hmm.
um, I want, because I sit at the bar all the time, that's just where I eat, is I sit at the bar. I want that bartender to be friendly. I want them to tell me their woes or listen to my woes. And
Hmm.
if the menu, I do want a restaurant to change their menu items enough
Right.
so that because sometimes you get stuck on stuff and you're like, oh, good grief. But as Fernando was saying, that one menu item, you do want it to be consistent from one place, one time to the next. But if that's all they have for a year, then I get a little like, I get grumpy. And because I want to try new things, and I would hope that the chefs and the sous chefs in town, and since we're in Lawrence, with the type of people that we have here, that they want new things, will change up the menu. So I do want menu changes. I don't eat fast food other than like Subway, if you consider that fast food. That's my go-to if I need, to get some food in me. But I eat out more than most people for sure. So when they lifted the restaurant ban, I've been very excited to go out again, but I'm only in restaurants when there's only about 5 to 6 people there, and we're pretty far away. So
Gotcha.
Oh,
Go ahead,
and
Fernando.
just a small correction, but so at the end I didn't say any restaurant, but like the McDonald's and Border Bandito, right?
Right, right.
So just a correction. I barely go to fast food, but sometimes it's necessary. But I mean, just like some of the top in town, like that fish house, I love it. Hopefully they're gonna remain there.
I
It's
did go.
amazing.
Mhm.
It's
I
amazing. Like you should try it. They keep the consistency, and we're in a small town in Midwest, and they're sharp, bringing fresh fish, creative, and I like also renewing. Besides, I like consistency, but I like to make seasonal dishes and variations.
Mhm.
Also, Lou, you like the one? It's like 23rd Street. It's a gas station that they serve like Mediterranean.
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
I love that place.
Yes, yes, it's a good Mediterranean
And
sandwich spot. Right across the street from Dylan's on 23rd
yeah,
Street.
Oh, I haven't been there yet. I used to always love going to Mediterranean Market. They've been great at Castle and 15th.
Uh-huh.
that's my favorite. That's my favorite. It's just too far, but yeah, Mediterranean Market, they are like solid.
Yeah, and their olives. God, they've got the best olives. But I haven't been in there since BC. So
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. All
So
right, so
sorry.
I got no, no, no. I was just about to ask you, like, what are some of your like pre-COVID all-time best spots, and then like, are the Lawrence restaurants open for sit-down guests right now?
Some.
So not all of them.
Yeah, and
That
I didn't set in any like I'm not like and sometimes I make a mistake in Topeka at work that you even order to go masked. Dude, the other day, Mr. Good Sense. So the guy had the ball, so I went without mask, right? But there is a that day I went without because I was like on outside and my coworker, and once we hop on a car, I say, "Holy shit, I don't have the mask." But then we go inside, keep the distance, the Italian sandwich. So the manager looked at me. So was me, and my coworker, two police officers behind us in Topeka, and the manager looked at me and say, "Hey, if you guys came in masked tomorrow, I'll give a free cookie." And then I look at him and say, "Hey, if you and your staff use the mask properly, I'm gonna give you extra tip." All of them, except one had the mask under their nose. I see. No.
uh, yeah, yeah. So I went on Josh's podcast last week, and we were talking about the masks, and uh, he was talking about like the judgment that people will get for
Oh,
wearing a mask, or the judgment that people will get for not wearing a mask. And
yeah.
I am ultimately of the position that I'm going to wear my mask, but I don't necessarily judge people that don't wear their mask, because I know some people are making like a political statement about it. The ones that I truly don't get, the ones that I probably come closest to judging, are the people that wear the mask wrong. Like, I don't know if you get like plus points for wearing it, but you get negative points for like not seeing it through. Like, if you've got enough, if you're wearing your mask by choice, like if you're like me and you have decided that you're going to do this thing to protect your fellow man, and that's what's important to you, then just do it right. Like, that's as, I guess, as far as I go. Um, if you're going to do it wrong, it's better to just not do it, because you're
got two
tired.
responses. Two
Uh-huh.
responses to that.
Shoot.
So one being the direct response to, so now that I am actually going to restaurants and doing my little, I'm sitting by myself at the end of the bar doing my own thing, which is what I
Mhm.
used to do anyway, was just sitting at the end of the bar doing my own thing. Um, uh, you're allowed to, in almost every place, you come in with your mask, and when you go to the bathroom, you wear your mask. But when you're at your space, because you have to put things to your mouth, you can take your mask off.
Mhm.
So sometimes we get into this moment where we're sort of like halfway, and people come by and say hi. So I will admit that I've been not the best person, where because I'm like halfway because I'm sipping on my wine and that sort of thing. Second thing is, I put a thing on Facebook, and I've barely been on Facebook at all because most people are really pissing me off on the extremities of everybody's opinions, because that's where we are right now. Everybody's at the farthest edges of the world of their opinions. But what I posted was so BC before COVID, uh, people like, did you actually like walk in, Lewis, did you ever walk into a quick shop in your boxers when it said no shirt, no shoes, no service, just to be an asshole and be kind of a dickhead and be aggressive? People didn't really do that, but now they're doing that with masks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I discovered NPR put out a podcast that I listened to, put out a thing about uh, uh, Typhoid Mary. So I'd heard the expression, but I really didn't know anything about the story of Typhoid Mary, and it's a very factual depiction of what happened, and they list off all the newspaper stories and the scientists who followed her, and how she actually did get involuntarily quarantined for 2 years of her life. And
Twice.
yeah, 2 years. Like, she was like basically kidnapped, and so it does a very good thing about like how you're supposed to be socially responsible, but then also like, what are your rights to be allowed to live your life? It was a very interesting thing. It's on Throughline, and it was about Typhoid Mary, and it was fascinating. It's only about 45 minutes long.
There is a shorter one that I watched on. I basically spend all my time watching different YouTube channels, and Vox is one of the ones that I watch pretty incessantly. And they have, I'm guessing it's maybe 10, 15, it might be as long as 20 minutes on Typhoid Mary. And yeah, it like just hitting the highlights of her life is just like
And she was
insane.
aggressive too.
Uh huh.
She could beat up the police that were trying to, like, she was like, "You're not taking," because they wanted feces samples, and I guess in 1906 that was a bad like thing to ask of a woman, which I can understand. But I mean, she beat up the cops and stuff. She
Yep.
defended her shit to the end. So
Hmm.
it literally defended.
Yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so that no, that's perfect because that leads me into my next question to both, well, to more so to Fernando than you, because you kind of answered it when you were talking about the bartender. How important is service to you, Fernando? Will bad service ruin a trip to a restaurant, especially a sit-down restaurant?
Ye- yes, like it does, but at the same time, there was some places in my life that even I knew the service was bad with some acceptance. There was a place. It was a one-man show, a small like Italian cantina in Brazil. It was hilarious. So the guy is he only do one sort of like pasta there per week, and he opened maybe 3 times a week, and there was like maybe 4 hours. And the guy, he served the tables, he cook, he does everything. It was a one-man show, and it was rough Italian that you gotta order fast. And if you keep, I mean, there wasn't much to think. You can hold. Oh, can I have like this wine or like? And even there was 2 or 3 kind. The guy say, okay, if you don't order right, I say, okay, I'll be right back, and he come back 10 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
I can take that, but I think service is it counts. You gotta keep attention to the customers. I care for service.
Mm-hmm. So I tend to agree. I think that like there's a difference between slow service and bad service. So like if I walk into a restaurant and the server is essentially like bombed and like literally can't get to all the tables that are there in the restaurant, that never ever bothers me.
Yeah, the same. You
Yeah.
give a slack, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
On the other hand, we went to a restaurant. My wife and I went. What was it, last week? And the place was near empty because it had to be. Um, and so, we can see that our waiters got maybe 3 other tables while we're in there, and like the waiter would do things like uh, bring us over the appetizer without any
Like,
silverware.
All
and,
right.
and
That's a classic.
yeah, and so we're like trying to flag him down, but he's like chatting with the other waiter that's standing there, and so like that just infuriates me. Like just like you said, when they're not paying attention, like in my head that is bad service. And at a certain point, like my waiting and my frustration eventually gets to the point where I just don't even want to be there anymore.
Exactly. I get short temper. I mean, not that there was some place that when I get a treatment like that, I just stand out and leave.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
leave. Like,
Well, so I've been a restaurant manager and a bar manager for many years. Well, not many years, but a few. and and there is a very big difference of a server having a bad day and just being forgetful versus management really teaching them what they're supposed to do. You should be, when you sit within 2 minutes, you should be acknowledged by somebody on staff. You
Right.
have to be.
Mhm.
I used to go with a friend to a big name restaurant on the west side of town, and our day bartender, who was there every day, she was so bad. We'd go up to the bar area, and it was never wiped down. She asked me how my food was, and I was like, I wouldn't know. I haven't gotten silverware since you put this here 5 minutes ago. I mean, just stuff like that. And I'm like, it's just common sense, but it also is about management training their staff to do the quality that they really want to perceive, to have their restaurant be known for. And so we finally, me and my buddy who we used to, like, I texted and I was like, is that woman working? And she's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. And I go, okay, well, we've got to finally tell the management. When we told the management, we're like, we don't want to be the complainers, but you've got to wipe down your bar. You've got to put out silverware, and you've got to teach this lady. I'm sorry she's a single mom, but she's got to know how to freaking bartend if she's your only day bartender.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not brain surgery. It's just common sense, and it got really aggravating. So in that sense, I definitely understand. And right now, when they have very reduced staffs in any restaurant, if you go into a restaurant and you're lucky enough to get one of the very few tables that is there and get waited on, they have a lot more things to deal with. Also, they've got to, between every person and every so like some of the restaurants that I really like going to, they're like, sorry, we're not going to do our regular table service. When you're done with all of your food, if you'd stack up your plates, that way we only have to take it out once, then we throw away our gloves. They won't bring little ticket booklets anymore, so you don't have those extra things to touch. A lot of places are doing scanning for menus, so you scan your phone.
Yeah.
You don't have to touch a piece of paper. So those are really big things, and I noticed that in restaurants that I think are really being very cognizant of what needs to be happening for the next possibly years.
So my next thought was, how about a couple in the restaurant arguing loud enough for you to hear? Does that ruin it, or is that entertainment? And I'm very genuinely curious to know if that is a good time or a bad time.
I don't know the last time that I've ever heard that, but I would find it entertainment just since I sit at restaurants by myself most of the time, and I'd be
Right.
like, and I'd probably like take notes about this is the wrong thing to say.
Right.
But I'm an asshole that way, so
Well, we're like, you can't be on the show and not be an asshole. So, Fernando, what about you? Like, what would you do?
Well, that doesn't bother much, or maybe I never see much to entertain me. I think what really annoys me that like I want to throw something or really like go like curb your enthusiasm, like I don't know if you follow that show. I remember the episode that the guy was someone talking loud on a cell phone or on a Bluetooth. I think it's even worse to hear.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to strangle like whoever and there was a time or another that, let's say I'm ordering something like on a Jimmy John's and I get emergency call. I start talking. I tell the waitress, give me a second. Say, hold on, I'll be right back. Like, and then I come back and apologize, but I try to avoid to talk. Disregarding the emergency because annoys the hell out of me. I can hear someone talk on the phone, and sometimes it's like I just imagine myself on a Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like I think I'm Larry,
Mhm.
you
I
know.
don't like it when people like cuss publicly very loudly. That bothers me. I mean, I've obviously done it tonight on this podcast, but like when you're just out in a restaurant, you have no idea who's around you, and you're dropping the f bomb, that bothers me quite a
Mhm.
bit.
Hold on, guys. I have a call. Hey, buddy, you know, sell everything, okay? And make sure you have like all those commodities in place. All right, talk to you tomorrow. What are you saying, guys?
Oh, nothing
Sorry,
important. It was.
sorry.
It's yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, while you guys talk, I'm getting some more wine.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah. See, I don't know that I've seen that in. I'm gonna say easily like 10 years. I think I was like uh, incredibly amused by it like the last time I saw it, but I think right now watching a like a couple fight or um, somebody even in an intense conversation would just make me way too uncomfortable. I think I would be bothered by it now. But yeah, the phone thing, and it bothers me because I know that I used to do it, like when cell phones first became a big thing, like before, like I
I
think
do
any of
remember.
us.
I remember you always had the gadgets, but
Uh huh.
I don't
Yeah.
recall like you interrupted or like I don't recall you doing that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I would have learned that lesson by the time you and I had met, but I definitely remember like realizing that it was kind of assholey behavior and like trying to purposefully stop it. So I'm guessing by the time you got to CLO, I probably was at the point where if I had a phone call I would excuse myself because I didn't want to be rude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would recall because
Yeah.
like I mean, you gotta watch if you never seen Curb Your Enthusiasm. Find the
Hmm.
episode that I think there's there's a guy on a cell phone and he started yelling on his own on the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was it is a well established fact that like you shouldn't be an asshole in a public spot with your phone.
Yeah.
So it's
It
always
doesn't
amazing.
always work though, because it's been happening too much. So
Amen. Amen. Well, now we got people that are literally like threatening politicians because they got to wear a mask. So, you know.
yeah, and sorry to bring up local stuff, and I haven't watched the video, but a friend sent it to me about a gentleman who is literally egging on the police in Lawrence downtown during the protests, who was just doing everything to get in their face, and when a female officer who was feeling threatened put her hand on her hip,
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, grab that gun, and I was
Hmm.
like, ooh,
Yeah.
this is not okay. This is not helping the cause. It's not making
I don't know. This the scary thing to me is watching the car drive through the protesters. That was
I didn't. I haven't seen any of it. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
In Lawrence?
Yeah, in Lawrence.
what
Like
2 days
Wow.
ago? 3 days ago?
Huh?
I saw the video like 2 days ago. So
Okay.
No, I didn't. It was that the same day that there was the pressure cooker?
no,
The,
what's the pressure cooker?
that was the bomb threat. The pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was all on the same day, and
Great day in the morning.
the stuff from South Park, and they moved it in front of U.S. Bank, and then they actually spray painted in front of U.S. Bank, where I used to work. So I feel really bad about that, and I've got a lot of police officer friends who are good people who just want to protect the community. So
Sure.
the whole thing is just
But
I'm hiding in my house. So
but it's interesting that Lawrence, but I mean things always escalate and you're always gonna have like some extremes. You know, it's just bad. Sometimes it sparks and goes to a bad way in in each side. But I think it's necessary, and I'm very hopeful and seeing a lot of like positive changes that are occurring. It's I think it's more hopeful than what it was like 4 years ago. Even there was some small progress that but I mean the progress didn't overcome all the the deaths and the violence and the oppression against all the minorities. They're like extremely racist, but they profile neighborhoods. So, you know, even if you're like a white dude or Latino guy, or even like, you know, a guy that's just there, like you sometimes for consequence, you get also affected. So it's we're having progress, but I, I'm more hopeful than ever, even though things are pretty nasty. But
I'm hoping that I get there. I have not yet reached the hopeful phase. Like you are right. I'm seeing change, but I'd like to see a whole lot more. I'm gonna.
dude, the Mississippi flag.
I know. Well, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Did you hear the governor signed the bill today, Kay, to get rid of the Confederate?
Yes, I did hear that, and I
Yeah.
had to have dealt with a lot of the Confederate flag versus the Mississippi original state flag issues at I had to go to the commission meetings because of people who were, I've been on the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for 27 years.
Hmm.
And we had a lot of people who were very upset because they saw the Mississippi original state flag. Well, I do have to say, for original Mississippians, they didn't know that the part of their flag was going to turn into a Confederate thing. A lot of them didn't. And they just, like, these people took that part of the flag and made it into their horrible, like, thing, like their swastika. And so the people who lived in Mississippi are probably like, it's not our fault. This is just our.
Nah, I don't buy the argument. I don't buy the argument. If you're alive right now, you have no working knowledge of the original Mississippi flag. Like that's just a whole bucket of like history that needs to be put into a museum somewhere.
That I don't mind, but you can't blame every Mississippian for what came out of the Mississippian flag. I mean, you can't blame them. You can't blame me because I'm German and I'm not a Nazi. I mean, you can't.
I would blame any Mississippian that doesn't understand the importance of like separating themselves from that part of history. That would be the problem.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch over to lighter fare. My next question is electric cars. Do either of you guys have an electric car?
Yes, I do.
How about you, Fernando? What are you driving right
No,
now?
but I have electricity in my house.
So you're familiar with how it works.
Yes, and I'm like an electronic engineer too. But
So, how are you? Do you love your car, Kay? Everybody that has one seems to love it. How do you feel about yours?
Mine is hybrid.
Uh-huh.
oh, so what? Hold on. What do you drive, Kate?
A Mini Cooper, as I have since 2003.
Uh-huh.
So for 17 years, I've had Mini Coopers, and they're very small, and I'm very not small. So my knees started getting bad, like really bad, to like lift myself up from a lower position. So I needed something higher up, and I was going to look at other hybrid cars. And this great sales guy, he was like, "Hey, Manny came up with a hybrid." I'm like, "You have? What? What did anybody tell me?" And I bought it on the spot, and I absolutely adore it. The only problems are that the long trips that I used to do to like St. Louis to visit my family in St. Louis, it used to a tank of gas, which is and I had 13 gallons in my old Mini Coopers. Now I only have 9 because I have to make more room for the battery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those 13 gallons would take me about 430 miles.
Wow.
I could go to St. Louis and back and not even think about it. Now it's only about 230, but in town, particularly in COVID, I've only filled up my tank twice since February 27th.
Holy crap.
So because I just plug it in, and I've looked at my electricity bill, and it is not a big deal. It's really, it's pennies, maybe pennies. Plug it in, and I can go anywhere around town. And like I said, I've only filled up my tank twice.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, if you go on a long trip, I can only go about 230 miles, so I would have to fill up on the way to St. Louis.
Gotcha. So that brings up multiple questions. I'll ask the two that are most upfront right now. Your decrease from 400 to 200 and change, that was because of the change in the car. That wasn't a decrease in performance, right?
Correct. So I have less gallons of gas that the car will actually hold
Uh-huh.
because they have to make room for the battery.
Right. So
So
does your battery last longer?
so it's really complicated, and I actually sat with one of the mechanics for like 45 minutes to have him try to explain some of it to me.
Uh-huh.
But it is like quantum mechanics. It's like trying to tell somebody how to go into the future. It's just kind of strange. But there is a thing on the computer screen, because there is a computer screen on it,
Mhm.
that you can go and it'll tell you exactly at any moment when you're using gas and when you're using battery
Uh-huh.
and when you're using both. So that makes it very interesting. So you can kind of see when it's working one way or the other.
Right.
But it's a complex algorithm that it's way over my wine drinking head. But it's really cool. So I mean, during COVID, I literally only filled up my gas tank twice because I just plugged my car in at night. And then it also the weird thing is that it makes no sound until you get up to the higher MPGs. You can't tell it's on. So it took me almost 2 months to figure out whether or not my car was on or not when
Mhm.
I pressed the start button.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's no sound. What's happening? Can I go? Can I
Yeah.
not? And did I turn it off? And did I not? Yeah, it's a very strange thing. But I absolutely adore this car. It's tall enough. It's still a Mini Cooper, but it's tall enough. It doesn't hurt my legs anymore, and it's pretty tough looking and still drives like a go kart. So
Good
Nice.
deal. So you're mentioning that you've only filled it up twice since COVID started, uh, like brings to mind like gasoline quality concerns. Do you have to do something to your
Yeah.
gas so that it doesn't break down in the gas tank?
they told me to always use premium.
Hmm.
I do go to
Oh,
Quick Shop, and they don't always have premium, so I use the Plus for sure.
Right.
I will not tell you who told me this in the past. My last Mini Cooper was a lease, and they're like, just put in the regular, it's fine, and
Mm-hmm.
stick to it. But
Yeah.
this,
huh.
I own it. They're like, just put in the best quality gas you possibly can. And I'm sure this winter I'll put in some of those additives, that they
Right.
use for the no freeze thing, whatever that
Uh-huh.
is.
Yeah,
Um,
well, the reason you need those in the winter is because when your gas sits, it breaks down into essentially gas and water. And that will happen in the summer if your car is like if the gas is sitting in there for like 3 or 4 months. So I'm curious to know if this is a if this is something that they warn you about when they give you the car. So this isn't a normal concern that they're okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think so because it's as a hybrid.
Uh-huh.
It is using like it'll start on battery power, and then once they
Right.
get over about 20 miles an hour, it goes to gas. And so the
Uh-huh.
gas is being used, but just at a much lesser rate
Right.
than a fully gasoline car.
Uh-huh.
And then when you're sitting at a stoplight, it's only using battery. When you don't have your, this is kind of an interesting thing on the computer screen. When like if I'm rolling down the highway, rolling down the highway, and you don't have your foot on the accelerator, it will say that it's charging the battery and just using gas. So it does some weird little things. It's a very unusual
Yeah. But
like algorithm of battery versus gas. But I think I really enjoyed it. I've had it now for a year and a half, and I think it's a damn pretty cool car. So
Kay, listen to Lou. I think we all mow our lawns. I guess sitting on a tank for 3 months, you're gonna give you trouble.
no, but I use the gas every time I drive. Gas is
But
being used.
I know, but I mean, you only fuel twice in 3 months, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times since March.
So you're getting that's it's become a red flag. Do a Google search after this
Okay,
podcast.
we'll do. Mhm.
So no, it was just one of the things that I was thinking about. Like I don't know
No,
that
that makes sense.
yeah, a hybrid car would necessarily like have to even give that warning, because typically, like outside of COVID, you would be driving it enough that you just wouldn't keep that much gas in your tank for that long. It's just right now it's this weird condition that like you literally could have gas in your tank for a month and a half, and like
Okay.
that exists there.
Yeah, I think like I think 3 months is like it's kind of a, right? It's basically, it's almost like you have a wine that gets, you know,
I would not have
started
a
becoming
wine
vinegar.
for over a month if I had it open.
Huh? No, yeah, imagine like, do that, Kay. Open a bottle of wine, leave it open, then you close and try in 7 weeks.
I tried to make salad dressing or vinegar, and I did it badly. So I'm not gonna try that experiment either. So
Hey, made prison
And
hooch.
and
tried, man. I tried.
and talking about cars, like I mean, I can see. Did you say your or we just came? Lou? I had a short break to the restroom here. Did you
Uh,
talk?
I do not have an electric car. I desperately want a Tesla. Which brings me to my last question. Like, what
Oh,
are the practical, like, practically, you drive to St. Louis. What are you looking at as far as like a recharge? Like, do you have one of the passes, or do you have to pay as you go? And how long does it take? All of that stuff.
Oh, so for driving to St. Louis, it was back when I had a regular Mini Cooper, so it was gas only,
Uh huh.
and went back and forth there. But the reason I was there was for family, alien family, and they have now passed away.
Uh-huh.
So now that I have this new car, I wouldn't try to recharge per se anywhere. I just fill it up with gas
You would
because
just go with the gas. Gotcha.
yeah, I have 9 gallons of gas. But I did go to a barbecue tournament the first year that I had it, and the place that I stayed was a family farm, and so I parked it up next to the farm, and I plugged that darn thing in, and I was set good to go for the weekend, and it was they were entertained because it's in Russell, Kansas, and they were like, electric car, what?
oh, Russell, I've
Yeah,
been there.
I have not.
and
I have no idea where Russell is. Where is Russell?
go 3 hours west on I-70, and there's
Uh-huh.
an exit that says Russell, Kansas.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
there you are. It is the best. There's a restaurant there that is the best steak in the Midwest, probably in
What's
the United States. They are amazing.
what's the name?
Merides,
I've been there.
Merdeys, and they are the nicest people. They remembered me. I hadn't been there for a year, and they remembered who I was. I couldn't believe it. But it is the best steak. I literally can only get the kid size because that's like a 12-ounce steak, and they've got steaks that are like platter size that come out, but always perfectly seasoned, perfectly done. It's amazing, and presidents have been there. I mean, it's amazing steakhouse. Merides and Russell, Kansas, do it
Gotcha.
or lose it. It's raw. But one of my best friends is from there, and so he's got a farmhouse and the city house, and we do barbecue contests up there. So
Cool.
we don't
Cool.
win at the barbecue contest, but so after we lose at the barbecue contest, we go to Merides and have steak. So
Nice.
Fair fun. All right, Mr. Electrical Engineer, what do you think about electrical cars? Do you think that's going to be the
No,
wave of the future?
I think that will be the end of the road. I think you'll be only electrical. Hopefully, we have enough time to turn. And I'm very like happy to see companies like I think Volvo. They did a pledge and you know think about it for the engineer perspective. It's much easier for you hop like forget about hybrid, go straight electric. That make their life so much easier. The car much lighter but like I still like I got a new car like I got the Volkswagen the Tiguan but it's turbo you know new and I'm super happy with the efficient and the performance but it's full explosion combustion but I mean it's more efficient than my Civic
Wow.
and you know my if I had like the you know the power of I mean if I could buy more. It was just like I had a third car. I would go hybrid, but maybe my next purchase, and who knows, maybe I can hold on a Volkswagen, and maybe in 4 years I go fully electric. But it just bothers me the concept that you gotta charge, like it's still the timing, you know, where if you're in the middle of nowhere, like
where and how do you do that? That's what I was
exactly. That's why hybrid at least make you safer, unless if you're very like a routine, or if you have like, let's say, half dozen cars, or you use your fully electric just to go from point A to B, period. You're never gonna change your route, and how long can you hold. You know that there is charging stations. Otherwise, like, I mean, you're gonna be there. You're gonna need to, or make sure you have AAA, right?
I also have a Vespa, so I've not even gone 1,000 miles on my Vespa that I've had for a
Nice. Do you have a Vespa?
I have a Vespa.
That's pretty
Do you
cool.
trust yourself or the other drivers in Lawrence to drive it around?
Well, so I am very proud of myself that my ex-boyfriend told me to take a motorcycle class, even for my Vespa, and that everybody, no matter if you're a motorcycle driver or if you're a regular driver, should take a motorcycle class because it really makes you look at the streets in a very different way. So I really consider myself a very good driver. Now, however, I have been, because I drink as much as I do, I Uber a lot, so I don't use any of my vehicles very much in some ways. Um, but,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't want to drink and drive a Vespa.
no. And so, but on the Vespa, when it's fun, and I just want to go out and have some fun and go out, and I put on my helmet, and if the weather's, if it's under 70, it gets very cold, and I don't have a proper jacket for it. If you're just in a t-shirt and shorts or whatever on a Vespa or a scooter of whatever kind, it's the biggest form of dehydration. And so you actually, within a 20-minute time period, you can lose a significant amount of the hydration in your body just from being on a scooter. But
So get one of those Camelback bags and just fill it with wine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, probably not the best idea. But so it is super fun to be around. But when I took the course, it's made me a better driver in a vehicle, and definitely a better driver on a Vespa or motorcycle. And anybody who's like, all those guys are like, yeah, I've been driving a motorcycle since I was 14. I was like, take the freaking motorcycle course, because other people are stupid. You might know what you're doing, but other people are stupid. So when you come up to an intersection, don't park your motorcycle like this. They can't see you. Park it like that, and you've suddenly got 45% more visibility. Then people will be like, oh, there's an actual motorcycle in front of me, or a Vespa or a scooter or whatever. I found it an incredibly informative class to take, and I think anybody who's behind a wheel should take the class. So
Good deal. All right. So that is 2 of the 4 topics that I sent out to you guys. Oh, Fernando?
Oh, so are you kidding the cartoon? What's the comic to movie?
Oh, we can definitely talk about it. Like, we don't have a time limit because Jeremy's not here. So let's talk about comic book movies. First of all, do both of you guys like comic book movies? Like, we don't talk about them on the regular podcast because Jeremy and Kath hate them. So yeah. So the reason I ask is because I have gone through I went through and rewatched the Marvel Cinematic Universe series of movies, and just have been having a blast. Like, even just having them on in the background while I'm studying or doing other stuff. And so I just wanted to get some ideas. Like, am I the only person on the podcast that thinks that these things may actually have some artistic merit?
Like, may I, Kay?
Please, I'm going to go get some wine, and my little
go for it.
Is very short, so I'm going to get some wine, and I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Go for it. Lou, it blew my mind. So I knew several movies. So my answer, like when you send the question, on top of my head would be like V for Vendetta, right? Or like a Watchmen.
Right.
Not a series, not The Preacher. Can't say that. But dude, I started watching a list. It blew my mind the amount of comics. And you know, you are more on top than I. You and Jason knows way more than I do on that. But Weird Science, it's from the comics.
Yeah.
Old Boy, the movie that's on the top of my list. I mean, I like more the others of the trilogy, but they mentioned sounds like only Old Boy is from the comics.
Yeah, there are other movies of the trilogy you like more than Old Boy? That's
Yeah,
surprising. Which one do you
you
like
know,
best?
Sympathy for Mrs. Vengeance.
Really?
Yes. And I tell you what, like the first one that caught my attention that I thought would be the top of the list and was the first that I watched was that came from Bobby, actually. Bobby that recommended, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I thought Old Boy would remain the top.
Wow.
Sympathy, it's more dark and more well resolved. Even they're all dark, right? I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Have you
the,
watched the Korean movies, the Vengeance trilogy? Okay. Old
Okay.
Boy.
So I have two sentences on your whole question about what is your favorite movie based on a comic book.
Right.
So the comic books that I have read,
Uh-huh.
which probably wouldn't even consider comic books,
Uh-huh.
are Archie, Garfield, and Charlie Brown.
Gotcha.
I've never seen a movie to.
Uh-huh.
The movies that I've seen, I've never read the comic book for, like Superman and Batman, and I did actually recently see Joker.
Uh-huh.
That called that was kind of cool. It was
Yeah.
great.
Just that's Joker.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but I've
Uh-huh.
never like read a comic book and then seen the movie after. Oh, look at you! So I am the last one on this, but I'm just really curious to hear what you guys talk about on this.
Gotcha.
no,
So Fernando was just mentioning the Vengeance, well, Old Boy, part of the Vengeance trilogy, which is like maybe one of the coolest movies that I've seen, and then we diverted to talk about the other movies in the trilogy. But yeah, so sympathy for Lady Vengeance does it for you.
and yeah, and AK, you gotta check it out, Old Boy. But keep in mind, you gotta look at the Korean version
Mhm.
that was in 2003. Spike Lee, he did the remake of Old Boy 15 years later, maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, like, and I love Spike Lee, dude. And I think it's one of the only movies I never watch. I hate to watch remakes.
Same here. Same here. And I will say without a doubt, like that Vengeance. I should warn you, Kay, the Vengeance trilogy is heavy, heavy
Rough.
watching. Like you will come out of that movie feeling just emotionally tired because it's some heavy, heavy stuff.
I'm watching too much Hallmark Channel right now because everything is emotionally tired. And as far as the comic book thing, I will say that last year, one of my best friends and his wife got married to a superhero theme. So she wore Wonder
Sweet.
Woman boots under her wedding dress. Like everything seemed like normal, but all the best men under their jackets had different superhero T-shirts and matching socks. And he was crap. He told me what it was right before. It's on my phone, but I can't go over there. And so didn't even get like regular wedding rings. Like he got the Wonder Twin Power type of ring.
Sweet. That's brilliant.
And their songs were even related to superhero things. There was that one song about Superman. I'm too scared to fly. I'm not that naive. Anyways, all of their songs were related to the superhero stuff because he's a comic book guy. She'd been married before and didn't care and just wanted to make it for him. But it was very tasteful and very lovey and really super sweet. And oh my god, I got a cat and a dog in my lap, and something's gonna happen here. So somebody else talk.
All right. Yeah, no, I think those are like fantastic choices, Fernando.
No, and don't forget the Crow, Electra, Conan the Barbarian. I don't give a shit, but it's funny that like how many and by the way, Weird Science. You were like went to get your wine. Weird Science came from the comics. I was looking the list.
No,
Blew my mind. How many movies I never imagined it came from it. Go for it. You're the master.
Science, beer, 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 beer.
Yep.
That's a comic?
Yep.
Oh, I might have to get the comics.
Oh, and that one with Pamela Anderson too. What was Barb something?
Barbarella.
Oh yeah, she just.
Is she like? Was that from
Oh
Barbarella?
no. Barbarella.
Oh.
That's the
That's another
Fonda
thing.
movie. Stripperella.
Stripperella, yeah.
I thought okay.
No,
Yeah.
Stanley made that special for Pamela Anderson. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I will say again, like first of all, I enjoy just like blockbusters, just kind of like mindless entertainment movies every now and then, especially if I'm just gonna put something on to be in the background while I'm doing other stuff. And there's something about the current crop of superhero movies that seem to escape the uh, for lack of a better word, idiocy of some of the earlier movies. It seems to be much easier to suspend disbelief when you're watching some of the newer movies than something like Elektra or the Daredevil movies of like the 90s. Like they were, you know, uh, obviously bad, but they were still enjoyable from a fanboy perspective. And I think that that has changed in that the new comic book based movies aren't necessarily about comic books. They're usually about like larger ideas and ideals. And so they seem to be written a little bit better. And for me, are just a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more enjoyable. So that was basically all I wanted to say about that. All right, guys. It has been well over an hour at this point. I want to thank you guys for showing up. I did actually get a text from Evo. He's actually dealing with a family emergency right now, so he was not able to join us. Yeah. And in fact, if he's still dealing with it, I may go and give him a hand. Um,
If
but
you need help, let me know.
oh, he's over here. He's over on the Kansas City side. So yeah. So yeah. So I will go see if I can be of assistance of any kind. And again, I want to say thank you guys for showing up and thank everyone who tuned in. And when you see this episode, you may see a bunch of them because I have a couple that need to be published. But regardless, see you next week.
Very good. See you.
See you guys.
Ciao.